Do not close this before I finish speaking, my child, because what I am about to unlock inside you will change everything. Stop for a moment and listen carefully to me, because this is not random. You did not arrive here by accident. I brought you here because heaven has been watching your silent struggle for a very long time, and today something hidden inside you is beginning to break free. I know there were moments when you almost gave up on yourself completely. I know there were seasons when fear became louder than your purpose and pain became heavier than your hope. But I need you to stay with me now, because what I am about to reveal will explain why your spirit has felt trapped for so long. You are standing at the edge of an awakening you never expected, and if you leave this message too early, you may miss the very moment your soul begins to come alive again. You thought fear destroyed your purpose, but it only buried what I placed inside you. Listen carefully to me now, because this truth matters deeply. The gifts I planted inside you never disappeared. The calling I placed over your life never died. The strength I created within your spirit was never erased. Fear only pushed those things deeper beneath the surface, where even you stopped believing they still existed. Over time, you became so used to surviving quietly that you forgot who you were before pain convinced you to shrink. You forgot how brightly you once dreamed. You forgot how freely you once believed. You forgot how powerfully your spirit once moved before disappointment and rejection made you afraid to fully be yourself again. If you leave this message too early, you may miss the very moment your spirit begins to awaken again. Stay here with me. Do not rush away from these words. I know your heart has learned to protect itself by expecting less from life. I know disappointment taught you to hide your hopes quietly so pain would hurt less when things failed. But this moment is different. Heaven is not speaking casually to you right now. Heaven is reaching into the deepest places of your identity, because something long buried inside you is beginning to rise again. And before this message ends, you will begin understanding why all the pressure, all the silence, all the struggle never truly destroyed you. I saw every gift inside you that pain forced into silence. I saw how sensitive your heart once was before betrayal hardened parts of it. I saw how creative you once felt before fear made you second-guess yourself constantly. I saw how deeply you cared before disappointment taught you to emotionally pull away. There were dreams inside you that slowly became quieter because rejection wounded your confidence repeatedly. There were parts of your personality you stopped expressing because criticism made you afraid of being misunderstood again. And slowly you learned to survive by becoming smaller than who I originally created you to be. You learned to hide your true self because rejection made you afraid to shine. Every painful experience added another layer of fear around your spirit. You became careful with your words, careful with your emotions, careful with your gifts, careful with your dreams. Somewhere along the way, your heart decided it was safer to stay hidden than risk more disappointment. So instead of fully expressing who you were, you began living quietly beneath your potential. You became more focused on avoiding pain than embracing purpose. And while people around you only saw the quieter version of you, heaven remembered the original fire I placed inside your soul long before fear tried to bury it. Something locked inside you is finally about to break free. I need you to hear those words deeply, because this is not just emotional encouragement. This is spiritual awakening. There are things sleeping inside your spirit that have remained buried beneath exhaustion, fear, insecurity, and emotional pain for far too long. But heaven is touching those places right now. The chains around your confidence are beginning to crack. The fear that kept your gift silent is beginning to weaken. The emotional walls you built to protect yourself are beginning to loosen. You may not fully understand it yet, but something inside you is already shifting while you listen to me speak. There is power sleeping inside you that even you have forgotten about. You became so focused on surviving pain that you lost sight of the strength hidden beneath your struggle. You started defining yourself by your exhaustion instead of by what I placed inside you originally. You looked at your failures longer than your purpose. You focused on your wounds more than your calling. And slowly fear convinced you that you were ordinary, weak, overlooked, and incapable of becoming anything greater. But my child, heaven never agreed with the small identity fear tried to place over your life. The world may have overlooked you, but heaven never forgot what I created you to become. People may have misunderstood your silence. They may have underestimated your value because you no longer expressed yourself boldly. But I never forgot who you truly are beneath the fear. I remember the gifts still waiting inside you. I remember the voice hidden beneath insecurity. I remember the strength buried beneath emotional exhaustion. I remember the purpose hidden beneath disappointment. And today I am speaking because the season of hiding is beginning to end. You were never empty, my child. You were wounded, silenced, and afraid. There is a difference. You spent too much time believing something was missing inside you when the truth is something became buried beneath years of emotional pain. Fear convinced you that you lacked value. Rejection convinced you that your gifts did not matter. Disappointment convinced you that dreaming boldly was dangerous. But none of those voices ever changed what I originally placed within you. They only covered it temporarily beneath layers of pain and self-protection. Common Father, you lifted me from the deep if He's rescued you from despair. I am unlocking you from the inside out right now while you listen. Listen carefully because this is happening already. While these words reach your heart, heaven is moving inside the hidden places of your identity. The numbness is beginning to crack. The fear is beginning to loosen its hold. The emotional heaviness that kept you spiritually asleep is beginning to lift slowly. I am breathing life back into areas of your spirit that felt forgotten. I am awakening confidence where insecurity ruled too long. I am restoring vision where disappointment once blinded your hope. You may already feel something stirring inside you right now. A deep emotional pull. A strange sense that something is waking up within your soul again. That is not your imagination. That is my presence touching the places fear tried to silence permanently. I know you became tired of fighting your own thoughts. I know you became exhausted from doubting yourself constantly. I know you almost accepted a smaller version of your life simply because surviving pain became your main focus. But my child, you were created for more than survival. What I release in you today will change the way people see you forever. The quiet version of you shaped by fear will not remain forever. The emotionally hidden version of you built through rejection will not define your future permanently. There is boldness returning. There is clarity returning. There is strength returning. The gifts you buried to protect yourself are beginning to rise again because heaven never intended for your purpose to stay trapped beneath pain forever. People who overlooked you will begin noticing something different. Not because you suddenly become perfect, but because the life I placed inside you will no longer remain buried beneath fear. The confidence returning to your spirit will change how you carry yourself. The healing entering your heart will change how you speak. The awakening happening inside you will change the atmosphere around your life. And those who only knew the wounded version of you will struggle to understand the strength now rising from within. Stay with me until the end because this message carries the key to what has been trapped inside you for years. Do not walk away from this moment too quickly. Heaven brought you here because the unlocking has already begun. You are not reading these words by accident. You are here because your spirit was ready to hear my voice calling buried things back to life again. The fear that silenced you is losing power. The pain that buried your gifts is losing control. The smaller identity you accepted during hard seasons is beginning to break apart. My child, this world is not ready for what I am about to release through your life. Not because you are suddenly becoming someone different, but because you are finally beginning to awaken into who I created you to be all along. My child, stop for a moment and listen carefully to me before you walk away again. Do not close your heart now. Do not disconnect emotionally like you have done so many times before when the pain became too heavy and disappointment convinced you to stop expecting anything good. I know what is happening inside you right now. I know how quickly your heart tries to pull back whenever hope begins to rise again because you are afraid of being hurt one more time. I know you have learned to protect yourself emotionally by expecting less, feeling less, trusting less, and dreaming less. But I am interrupting that pattern right now because if I do not speak into this moment, your pain will try to pull you back into silence again. Stay with me, my child. Do not turn away from these words too quickly. Heaven did not bring you here by accident. I saw the exact moment your heart began drifting into emotional numbness again. I saw the moment when exhaustion whispered to you that nothing would ever truly change. I saw the moment when disappointment started convincing you to close yourself off emotionally so you would not feel pain so deeply anymore. And before that heaviness could fully settle over your spirit again, I stepped in intentionally. This message is not random. This is heaven interrupting your emotional retreat before you disappear deeper into silence. Please support our channel. Our work is to bring happiness in your life and devotion to God. And if you want, you can donate to us given link in description or pinned comment to show your support. I know you became tired of hoping. I know you became exhausted from trying to believe for better days while carrying so much hidden pain inside. At first you fought hard emotionally. At first you prayed with passion. At first you believed things would improve quickly. But after enough disappointments, enough delays, enough emotional wounds, your spirit slowly became quieter. You stopped expressing your dreams openly. You stopped expecting people to understand your heart. You stopped believing your gifts still mattered. And without fully realizing it, you started emotionally walking away from parts of yourself I never intended for you to abandon. You became skilled at disconnecting emotionally before anyone noticed how deeply you were hurting. You smiled while secretly feeling empty. You stayed present physically while your spirit quietly pulled away inside. You answered conversations politely while emotionally shutting down deeper parts of your heart. And over time this became your survival method. Instead of healing fully, you learned how to emotionally disappear while still functioning outwardly. But my child, I saw every moment of it clearly. That is why I am interrupting you now with urgency. I know how close you came to fully giving up on yourself. I know there were nights when your thoughts became so heavy that you questioned whether anything inside you would ever feel alive again. I know there were moments when fear convinced you that staying emotionally hidden was safer than risking disappointment again. But heaven refuses to watch you bury your true self beneath pain forever. I did not create you to spend your life emotionally disconnected from your own purpose, your own voice, and your own identity. You were about to drift deeper into numbness again, and I could not allow it to continue without speaking directly into your spirit. My child, this interruption is intentional. Before you arrive here, I already knew your heart was growing tired again. I saw the quiet sadness you carried today. I saw the emotional heaviness you tried to ignore. I saw the part of you preparing to emotionally withdraw once more because disappointment had exhausted your ability to trust. But I am calling you back before the numbness becomes stronger. I am calling you back before fear convinces you that your best days are already behind you. I am calling you back before your spirit becomes so quiet that you forget the sound of your own purpose. Listen carefully now, because heaven is not speaking casually to you in this moment. Heaven is reaching into the deepest places of your identity with urgency, because something inside you still matters greatly. There are gifts inside you that fear never successfully destroyed. There is strength inside you that exhaustion never fully erased. There is purpose inside you that disappointment never permanently buried. And before you walked away from yourself completely, I stepped in to remind you who you are. I know you have spent so long surviving emotionally that true hope almost feels dangerous now. Part of you wants to believe again, but another part of you fears more disappointment. Part of you wants to open your heart again, but another part remembers how painful rejection felt before. And because those fears became so strong, you started living emotionally guarded. You stopped allowing yourself to fully feel certain things because pain convinced you vulnerability would only lead to more heartbreak. But my child, staying emotionally hidden is slowly suffocating the very life I placed inside you. I know why you became cautious. I know why you became quiet. I know why you learned to emotionally disconnect before situations could wound you again. But I never created you to survive through numbness. I never designed your spirit to live trapped behind fear and emotional walls forever. The version of you that pain forced into hiding is not the final version of you. That is why heaven interrupted your path today. I needed you to hear my voice before fear pulled you deeper into isolation. I needed you to hear my voice before emotional exhaustion convinced you to stop trying completely. I needed you to hear my voice before the lies inside your thoughts became stronger than the truth I placed inside your spirit long ago. You are not forgotten. You are not empty. You are not too damaged to heal. You are not too exhausted to awaken again. I know there were moments when you believed your fire was gone forever. Moments when your heart felt too tired to dream boldly again. Moments when your confidence disappeared beneath years of disappointment and hidden struggle. But my child, buried is not the same as destroyed. Quiet is not the same as dead. Fear may have silenced parts of you temporarily, but heaven never stopped seeing the greatness still hidden underneath your pain. And now I am reaching into those hidden places again. Even while you read these words, something inside you is beginning to stir. The numbness is cracking slowly. The heaviness is shifting quietly. The emotional walls are weakening. You may not fully understand it yet, but your spirit recognizes my voice calling you back to life again. The deeper part of you that almost disappeared beneath exhaustion is beginning to awaken because heaven never gave up on what I created inside you. So do not walk away now, my child. Do not disconnect emotionally again before the healing begins. Do not retreat back into silence while heaven is trying to awaken your heart. Stay with me through this moment, because what I am doing inside you right now is too important to abandon halfway. I interrupted your pain intentionally because your future still matters. Your gifts still matter. Your voice still matters. Your life still carries purpose far beyond what fear allowed you to believe. And before you could disappear deeper into emotional numbness again, heaven stepped directly into your path to call you back to yourself, back to hope, back to purpose, and back to the life I still fully intend to awaken inside you. My child, fear buried many of the gifts I placed inside you, but fear never destroyed them. I need you to understand that clearly before anything else. The parts of you that became quiet, hidden, uncertain, and emotionally withdrawn were not erased forever. They were buried beneath years of disappointment, rejection, overthinking, and emotional pain. Somewhere along the way, fear slowly convinced you that hiding was safer than shining. And because the wounds felt real, you started shrinking parts of yourself that heaven never intended to disappear. Right, I will not fear the unknown because he goes before you. I know how it happened. It did not happen all at once. Fear entered slowly, one painful experience at a time, one disappointment at a time, one rejection at a time. At first you still believed in yourself strongly. At first you still felt excitement about your future. At first you still trusted the gifts inside you. But then failure visited your life in ways that wounded your confidence deeply. Certain things did not work out the way you hoped. Certain people spoke words that damaged your spirit more than they realized. Certain moments embarrassed you, discouraged you, or made you question your own worth. And slowly your confidence began pulling back into hiding. The fear of failure became heavier than your willingness to try again. You started overthinking every possibility before taking action. You became afraid of making mistakes publicly. You became afraid of putting effort into things that might disappoint you again. And eventually fear trained your mind to expect defeat before you even began moving forward. You started talking yourself out of opportunities before life even had the chance to reject you. You started shrinking your dreams because disappointment felt too painful to survive repeatedly. My child, I saw every moment when fear slowly silenced your confidence. I saw the ideas you kept inside your head because you doubted whether anyone would value them. I saw the talents you stopped expressing because criticism once wounded your spirit deeply. I saw how you became quieter in rooms where you once would have spoken boldly. I saw how fear made you question yourself constantly even when the gifts inside you were real. You began looking at your weaknesses more than your calling. You began focusing on your past failures more than the future I still prepared for you. The fear of rejection also shaped your heart more deeply than you realized. Certain people made you feel unseen. Certain relationships made you feel unwanted. Certain experiences taught your spirit to protect itself emotionally by staying hidden. You became afraid of fully expressing yourself because rejection convinced you that being seen honestly would only lead to pain again. So instead of allowing yourself to shine naturally, you slowly learned how to become smaller, quieter, safer, and less visible. You hid parts of yourself because you became afraid people would misunderstand you, criticize you, overlook you, or leave you behind. You became careful with your words, careful with your emotions, careful with your dreams. Even your gifts became hidden because rejection taught your spirit that standing out felt dangerous. And while you thought you were protecting yourself emotionally, fear was quietly burying parts of your purpose beneath insecurity. But my child, hear me carefully now. Fear only buried what I placed inside you temporarily. It never had the power to erase it permanently. The gifts are still there. The calling is still there. The purpose is still alive beneath the fear. You became so focused on surviving emotionally that you forgot who you were before fear entered your thinking so deeply. You forgot how naturally certain gifts flowed through you before insecurity interrupted your confidence. You forgot the version of yourself that believed more freely, spoke more openly, dreamed more boldly, and trusted more deeply before disappointment trained your heart to become cautious. I know there were moments when you compared yourself to other people and quietly felt smaller inside. You watched others move forward confidently while your own spirit felt trapped behind overthinking and fear. You wondered why confidence seemed natural for everyone else while your heart constantly battled insecurity. But my child, many people only see outward appearances. I see deeper than appearances. I see the gifts still hidden inside you even while fear convinces you they disappeared long ago. Fear silenced your confidence, but heaven never agreed with the lies fear spoke over your life. Fear told you that you were not enough. Fear told you your mistakes defined you. Fear told you that rejection meant you lacked value. Fear told you that staying hidden was safer than risking disappointment again. But I never spoke those things over you. I never called you weak, forgotten, incapable, or worthless. Those voices came from pain, not from me. My child, there is a difference between wisdom and fear-based hiding. Wisdom protects purpose carefully. Fear buries purpose completely. And for too long your spirit have been living beneath emotional hiding places created by disappointment and insecurity. You stopped trusting the gifts inside you because fear became louder than my truth about you. Still, even during the seasons when you doubted yourself most, I never forgot what I created inside you. I saw the leadership hidden beneath your insecurity. I saw the creativity hidden beneath your fear. I saw the compassion hidden beneath your emotional walls. I saw the strength hidden beneath your exhaustion. I saw the voice hidden beneath your silence. Nothing inside you ever became invisible to heaven. Even now, while you listen to me, I am exposing the lies fear planted inside your thinking. You are not small because you struggled. You are not weak because pain affected your confidence. You are not forgotten because rejection wounded your spirit. Human hearts often shriek after repeated disappointment, but heaven still remembers the original identity hidden beneath your fear. My child, fear became powerful in your life because pain remained unhealed too long. Every disappointment added another layer of caution around your spirit. Every rejection strengthened emotional walls inside your heart. And slowly fear convinced you that hiding yourself completely would protect you from future pain. But hiding also prevented your gifts from breathing freely. It prevented your confidence from growing naturally. It prevented your purpose from expressing itself fully through your life. That is why heaven is speaking to you now with urgency. I am not willing to let fear keep your gifts buried forever. I am not willing to let rejection silence your voice permanently. I am not willing to let insecurity control the future I prepared for you. There is too much inside you still waiting to awaken. The world only saw the fearful version of you struggling quietly, but heaven still sees the powerful identity hidden beneath the wounds. Heaven still sees the gifts waiting to rise again. Heaven still sees the confidence capable of returning once healing reaches deeper into your spirit. My child, the fear may feel strong, but it is not stronger than the life I placed inside you. Your purpose did not disappear simply because pain buried it temporarily. And now, even while you read these words, I am beginning to loosen the grip fear held over your heart for so long. The hiding season is ending. The silence is breaking. The buried gifts are beginning to breathe again. And what fear tried to keep hidden, heaven is preparing to awaken openly once more. My child, pain taught you to hide long before you realized how deeply it was changing you inside. At first you were open. At first your heart trusted more easily. At first you expressed yourself without constantly questioning whether people would misunderstand you or reject you. There was a time when your spirit moved more freely, when your emotions felt more alive, when your confidence was not buried beneath fear and emotional walls. But then the wounds came one after another, and slowly your heart began learning how to survive through hiding. I saw every emotional wound that changed the way you looked at yourself. I saw the moments when certain words hurt more deeply than people realized. I saw how disappointment slowly weakened your confidence. I saw how rejection made you question your value. Some wounds came from people you trusted. Some came from situations you never expected. Some came from moments when you gave your best and still felt overlooked or unappreciated afterward. And because the pain stayed with you longer than expected, your spirit slowly started pulling back from the world around you. You stopped expressing certain feelings openly because emotional wounds taught you vulnerability could lead to heartbreak. You became more careful with your words because criticism once made you feel small inside. You became quieter in places where you once felt free to speak because rejection left marks on your confidence that nobody else fully saw. Over time, hiding became your protection. Instead of risking more pain, you started shrinking parts of yourself quietly. My child, betrayal affected you more deeply than you admitted. You trusted people who later disappointed you. You believed certain relationships were safe, only to discover hidden hurt waiting inside them. There were moments when people you loved failed to protect your heart the way you hoped they would. Some walked away when you needed them most. Some misunderstood your intentions. Some spoke carelessly about wounds they never understood fully. And every betrayal added another layer of caution around your spirit. You stopped trusting easily because betrayal taught your heart to expect disappointment. Even when good people entered your life later, fear still whispered warnings inside you. You became emotionally guarded because your spirit remembered the pain of opening up before and being hurt afterward. So instead of allowing yourself to be fully seen again, you learned how to survive by keeping deeper parts of yourself hidden. I saw how criticism shaped your inner world quietly. Certain words stayed in your thoughts longer than people realized. You replayed painful comments privately. You remembered moments where your efforts were mocked, ignored, were dismissed. And slowly criticism became a voice inside your own thinking. Even when nobody else spoke negatively around you anymore, the memory of past criticism continued affecting how you viewed yourself. You started doubting your gifts. You started questioning your value. You started shrinking your dreams because criticism convinced you that standing out only invited more pain. The world around you may not have realized how sensitive your spirit truly was, but heaven saw every hidden wound clearly. I know how deeply certain moments affected your confidence. I know how much energy it took just to continue functioning normally after emotional pain shook your heart privately. And I know there were nights when you sat alone carrying sadness nobody else fully recognized because your suffering happened mostly inside. Feeling unseen wounded you in ways difficult to explain. There were moments when you silently hoped someone would truly notice your pain without forcing you to explain everything aloud. You wanted to feel understood. You wanted someone to recognize the heaviness behind your smile. But often people only saw the version of you that kept surviving outwardly. They saw your responsibilities. They saw your routine. They saw your calm appearance. But they did not see the emotional battles happening quietly beneath the surface. My child, there were times when you felt invisible even while surrounded by people. You laughed in conversations while secretly feeling disconnected inside. You listened to others while silently carrying your own heavy thoughts. You became emotionally lonely because nobody fully recognized the depth of your internal struggle. And over time, that loneliness taught your heart to hide even more deeply. You stopped sharing certain dreams because you feared people would not understand them. You stopped expressing certain emotions because previous experiences taught you vulnerability could become painful. You stopped believing your voice mattered because feeling unseen slowly convinced you that staying quiet was safer. And while people around you assumed you were simply reserved or distant, heaven knew the truth. Pain had taught your spirit how to hide itself carefully. But my child, hear me clearly now because this truth matters deeply. The hiding protected your wounded heart temporarily, but it also buried parts of your identity I never intended to disappear forever. The quieter version of you created by emotional pain is not the full version of who you truly are. Beneath the fear, beneath the walls, beneath the exhaustion, your real identity still exists fully alive. I know the wounds made hiding feel necessary. I understand why your spirit became cautious. I understand why trust became difficult. Human hearts naturally protect themselves after repeated pain. But heaven never intended for your wounds to permanently silence the gifts, strength, love, and purpose I placed inside you long ago. Even during the seasons when you hid emotionally from the world, I still saw every beautiful part of you clearly. I saw the compassion still hidden beneath your guardedness. I saw the kindness still living beneath your exhaustion. I saw the creativity still breathing beneath your insecurity. I saw the courage still waiting beneath your fear. The pain changed how openly you expressed yourself, but it never erased what heaven created inside you. My child, betrayal may have wounded your trust, but it did not destroy your worth. Criticism may have shaken your confidence, but it did not cancel your calling. Feeling unseen may have silenced your voice temporarily, but it did not make you invisible to heaven. I never lost sight of who you truly are beneath the pain. And now I am gently calling those hidden parts of you back into the light again. I am not asking you to pretend the wounds never happened. I know they were real. I know the pain affected your heart deeply. But I also know this. You cannot spend the rest of your life hiding the gifts I created inside you simply because fear and disappointment wounded your spirit before. There is still too much life inside you waiting to awaken again. Even now, while you listen to my voice, healing is beginning in places where emotional pain once ruled completely. The walls around your spirit are weakening slowly. The fear of being fully seen is beginning to loosen its grip. The exhaustion created by years of emotional hiding is starting to lift little by little. My child, you are safe with me. You do not have to keep shrinking yourself to survive. You do not have to keep silencing your voice because others failed to recognize your value before. You do not have to spend your future trapped inside the hiding places created by past wounds. I see you completely. I understand you deeply. And the parts of you pain forced into hiding are not forgotten by heaven. My child, I need you to listen to me carefully now because the pain you walked through slowly changed the way you see yourself. And for too long you have believed things about your identity that heaven never spoke over you. You started looking at yourself through the lens of disappointment instead of through the truth of who I created you to be. You began defining yourself by your wounds, your failures, your exhaustion, and your fears. And slowly, without even realizing it, you accepted a smaller version of yourself because pain convinced you that the stronger, brighter, more powerful parts of you were gone forever. But my child, you are not who your pain told you that you are. You are not weak simply because you became tired. You are not broken beyond healing simply because life wounded your heart deeply. You are not forgotten because certain people overlook your value. And you are not empty because fear buried your confidence for a season. The pain affected you. Yes. The wounds were real. The disappointment was painful. But none of those things changed the identity I placed inside you before any heartbreak ever entered your life. Type I stand on your promises, Lord, if you're anchored in His truth. And share this video.